yourself, don't you? Optimus Prime, I have a matter of some urgency to discuss.
I am Optimus Prime of the planet Cybertron.
The mechs, please, and the shield is down. Oh, yes.
The law caused a great big Autobot machine.
I'm rather uneasy.
Not bad, huh?
Yes.
TFCon welcomes David, Kaye.
So I've been talking to Jessica here, Dave, and she's very excited to ask you some questions. Did you have anything you want to talk about first, or do you want to go right into Q&A here?
I'll just say welcome. It's great to have you all here. Anybody here from Wales? Oh boy, that's my heritage. That's right, Welshman. From my steak. It's my family. Yeah. That's right. Anyway, thank you all for coming, and it's great to see so many familiar faces and some brand new ones. Hi. Yes, so basically just come and ask questions, and we'll just kind of take it from there, and anything you want to know, just ask away. Go ahead.
This is kind of a silly question. How come Megatron in Beast Wars always says yes?
Very good question. Very good question. I'm going to use a microphone. Very good question. Very good.
Can I have one of those in the microphones? Oops, the handheld ones? Is there one or not?
There is not.
There is not one? A handheld one? Okay. It's the only one. All right. If it works. I'll tell you, I'll answer that question by saying it was in the script, the first script, but there was no, nobody said to say yes. There was none of that. There was a passage, I think, and Sue Blue was directing. You want to know Sue Blue, the voice director? She's so great. Love her so much. And there was an end of a sentence, and I think it was something, Commander Ratchet, a pleasant surprise. It should have you not know, side cuts. And before there was a speech before that, it was yes. And I stretched it out. And Sue, like a meerkat.
Oh, that's good. Let's do that again. Stretch it out longer.
And so I said, yes. And you see all the meerkats behind the glass. That's essentially how it went. And so there was some, you may remember some of the speeches where there was a no. So I, yes, no. So it became, he's a very Shakespearean character, don't you agree? Shakespeare is all about debate. If I do this, this will happen. If I do that, that will happen. What's the, to be or not to be? That is a question. But there's no rule in the mind of swing strings and arrows of a righteous fortune. Take a pause and see trouble. Yes, but it's arguing with yourself. So that's how that happened. Does that answer your question? Yes.
Yes!
Hello, David, Kaye.
How are you? Your name, where you're from?
Scott Mendelson. I'm here from Maryland.
Hello, Scott. Good to see you again.
Yes, enjoyed talking to you earlier.
Yeah, so, fun. Thanks, man.
My question is, you brought so much to the character. How much of that were you allowed to play on, and did that grow as you voiced the character? Were you given more freedoms?
Yeah, the thing about doing a show, animation show, is you'll know by watching even live action that the cast in the very beginning is just finding their way. So some of the earlier shows, there may be some cool individual performances, but the ensemble doesn't sort of get together until you're sort of halfway through the first season, sometimes into the second season. And so the writers get comfortable with you and your character. And every character that we do as voice actors is an element of who we are. That's number one. It's part of us. And June Foray says the same. It's who you. It's just elements of yourself being expressed with a different voice. And so everybody sort of joins together. A perfect example of that is, and if you watch Avengers Assemble, all the Avengers cartoons that started it, is Jarvis in that, and there's a character that I was voicing recently, Baron von Seymour. And there's some great story arcs. And after the first season, the first show, Jeff Loeb, the executive producer from Marvel, was in that day. All the executives were there, and no one knew who was in the cast. It was a big thing, the first day of Avengers Assemble. And I think after the first 2 episodes, they fired the director. There was people, you know, a couple of cast members weren't there when we showed up the next time. Ooh. So there was a lot of second guessing. People were nervous, and there wasn't a lot of back and forth between the cast and behind the glass. You do something, and we'd be joking around in the room, and behind the glass, we're like looking down at their phones or reading, and they're going, nothing's. So I invited everybody to my house for a pizza party. We made pizzas in the oven, we opened up some wine, some beer, and even Jeff Loeb came to my house. I go, oh my God, Jeff Loeb is in my house. He used to get to see his name in all the Marvel shows. He was the producer. So after that get-together, open up season 2, everyone's joking around, having a good time, we were riffing, the writers are in, we know the names of the writers, everybody's comfortable, and then they let you start to play. And it's familiarity. And it's a long-winded question, but that's what happens with a show, is you start to be able to play and let loose after a few episodes or after a season. So if that makes sense.
It does.
I ramble, stop me if I'm just going on tangents.
Thank you again.
Good question. Yes?
Just go.
Pretend you are 4 feet tall. Now what does that sound like?
Alright.
There you go.
Best voice acting story, worst voice acting story. In terms of maybe John, working with people.
One of the coolest voice acting stories, I mean there's not a lot of bad voice acting stories at all. Wally Burr, we just lost this past year, great voice director, actor. In G.I. Joe, Wally was in directing us. Scott McNeil was in the cast at that time, Gary Chalk, and so a bunch of other people. There was a new guy who none of us had knew, and he was sort of like, oh hey, welcome, you know, he's brand new. And Wally likes to direct, for example, here's a scene, you know, yo, Joe, blow it out, and somebody has to go, ah! You know, like he's been hit or something. Wally gets him like, yeah, hang on a second, we'll try that again. More like a, huh. And then the guys in the row, the guy go, huh. Wally said, no, hang on, it's more like, what? Huh. And he'd go, huh. And Wally said, no, you're not listening, hang on, it's one more. Huh. And the guy did exactly the same, this went on for 10 minutes. So the guy is starting to sweat and get all nervous. You can see his t-shirt starting to, you know, and slowly we're taking a break. We start leaving the studio one by one. And the poor guy is in there with Wally. And the show is on one morning. Go, oh, that's the episode. Watch it, and all you hear is, you don't hear anything. So that you can. Wally was famous for those, you know, directable moments that. There's something a lot of, you know, spitballs being thrown around in Beast Wars, paper fights, airplane fights, middle of a scene, you know, Gary Chalk or Eagle would throw an airplane and would hit me on the shoulder, you know, and Sue would have to settle us all down. It's like trying to corral kindergartners. But yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of bad stories at all.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. If I think of one, I will tell you.
Awesome. Hi, David.
Hi.
Will from Hampton Roads area of Virginia.
Hi, Will.
Just changed my question at the last second. What's better to, I guess for you or for most voice actors, to come in and do your lines, or to do, like you just kind of alluded to, in a kind of a group?
An ensemble cast is my favorite way to go. A lot of you know I did anime a long time ago. Sesshomaru and the actors and characters, you know that. And so we would come in, we did 7 years of that show.
Yes, you did.
7 years.
You did.
How many episodes? Do you know how many episodes?
164, and then there was the final act. We didn't do that, which
That's right.
broke my heart, but I still love it.
Yeah.
And then the 4 movies.
That's right. So in the 7 years plus doing the show, I was at a con in Toronto years ago, and Mike Dobson and I were getting on the shuttle to go over to the convention, and some girl gets on, and I said, "Who's the girl?" Mike goes, "It's Kagome." I go, "Oh." No idea. In 7 years, I knew Richard, I knew Mike Dobson because they're friends of mine, and that's all I knew. I never saw anyone. So the fun part is an ensemble cast. We can have airplane paper fights and, and be together, and it's an energy. It's so much fun. I mean, working with Freddie Tadashore as the Hulk, I mean, it's so much more fun. Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh.
Too tall.
Thank you. Hi.
Oh, sorry. Hi.
Hi, you probably know me.
I do. Yeah.
I live in Virginia, and how does it feel for you to play a heroic Autobot character like Optimus Prime, even though I was so used to hearing you play a villainous character like Megatron and Armada, Energon, and Cybertron?
It's a great question. It felt weird for me because I played, aside from Professor X, I was always cast as bad guys and villains, and I still am with the Germans now. It was strange because in the first few episodes of Animated, when I went in for that role, I actually emailed Sue and said, "Oh, so you got to get me in for this show." She said, "Yeah, of course, we'll bring you in." And there was a callbacks, and I was brought back for Megatron, and what's one the one with one eye? What's his name? Well, thank you. God, why do I keep forgetting?
Look, Megatron is wise. Megatron is stupid right now. Not gonna remember anything.
So I thought, oh, here we go, Megatron, come back, and then I did the scene, and then they're all back there, and they said, oh, take a look at Sue, take a look at Optimus, and I go, Prime? She said, yeah. Okay, and so I did this whole thing, and I could see it again, the meerkats. And I go, oh, something's weird here. So they had me do it again, and when they have you do it again in an audition and try something different, it means they're hearing something they like, and they want to see if they can make you Play-Doh and see if they can direct you how that works. And so sure enough, I get called 2 weeks later, my agent, and all agents sound the same, "Hey, how are you?" That's when you know there's good news coming. They said, so they want to book you for Transformers. I go, oh, awesome. They get Megatron. He goes, for Optimus Prime. Who? It's literally what I said. Who? Optimus Prime. You read for it, didn't you? I go, oh yeah, I guess I did. So the first few episodes of that show, I was so, because Corey Burton was the Megatron. Corey's so great. I love Corey. It's so fun to be there with Corey. And every time Sue would say, okay, Megatron, I'd stand up. And I go, yeah, it's not me. It's not me. It took 3 or 4 episodes to just get that out of my head that I'm not the bad guy anymore. I'm the good guy. So, yeah, good question. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Next. Hi.
You may remember me.
Of course I do. You were at the table an hour ago.
It was. Thank you. I have a 2-parter question, if that's all right.
That's fine.
So first of all, I may be of the unpopular opinion that Beast Machines is not the worst. I actually kind of liked it. So I don't know. I really enjoyed it. So I wanted to know how you felt going from Beast Wars to Beast Machines, because they're very different shows. But I mean, I wanted to know how you felt about the shift in tone and content. Was that Larry Ford, Bob DiTilio, the writers on the first season? I think they did Beast Machines, or maybe it was a new writing team. Do you know?
Bob Skier.
Bob
Skier.
That's right. So different writer, and don't forget, a lot of animated shows are advertisements to sell toys. I mean, they really want to sell toys and platforms and games, and it all goes at that. And so there's always going to be changes. I liked all of it. It was always so much fun. But the very first episode in the first season was such a new thing for everyone, for animation. We were all just kind of, blown away by this new technology. And you watch it now, you're like, wait a second, I can see this moving in the background. You're picking it apart because of the technology. But I liked all of it, and I kind of like the last season. It's kind of dark and moody, and I kind of dig that kind of stuff. And I love the artwork and the colors. Different writers, different little less comedy. But I love the first one because of the comedy. And there was still that comedy in there in Beast Machines too. That little snide comments and side remarks. That was fun. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And my second question.
Oh, yes.
Out of the Transformers series that you've worked on, what character would you have liked to voice the most?
And the big monkey, Optimus Prime.
Yeah, it was called back for that too, the first series. Yeah, it was a callback to Megatron, and I was called back for both Optimus and Megatron. I don't even know what I did for Optimus. I can't remember. Everybody knows the whole story. I basically had no idea what I was going to do. I was so nervous, and I went into the room. I hadn't got a clue what I was going to do. Sometimes I know exactly what I'm going to do. For Megatron, I walked in and I went, here goes nothing. You know, and I combined, it was Anthony Hopkins, Sean Connery, and a lizard. And what would it sound like? Sean Connery, he's got a bit of a Scotsman, and then you got Anthony Hopkins, and he's a Welshman, of course. And you combine that sort of thing, and you add a lizard in. What he was, yes, S is excellent. You can bring it down over here. And it becomes this character, Shakespearean. And then that's sort of where he lived. And again, the meerkats. So yeah, that's how that happened.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi there.
Hi.
Thanks again for coming out, for this convention. You're having a great time.
Oh, thank you for having me here.
Okay, and I want to say, for TFA, I want to thank you, because TFA Lugmet is one of my favorite characters.
Oh, yes.
Even though you don't remember the name.
Yeah, you're so stupid.
Love him.
Speaking of TFA, compared to your other series where you've done maybe 1 or 2 voices, I know TFA you were credited for at least a dozen. Was that a challenge?
Yeah, sometimes they are, because you got to keep away from my normal voice. It's pretty much like Optimus Prime, just kind of a bit younger. Just kind of young them up a little bit, transform and roll out. So you got to keep away from that. And I think what was it? A couple of characters. I mean, maybe some people know some of the characters.
Cliff Jumper was one of them.
Cliff Jumper, Eyebrow, Warpath.
Warpath. Now, here's a little story about Warpath. I don't mean to defend anybody, but I'm literally trying to come up with a voice where you're asking this question. So, trying to come up with a Warpath. I'm Warpath, okay. Oh, gosh, I haven't done it. And I wanted to do this in Warpath, And it's not real cool to do a Native American, I found out. I didn't know this. It's just one of those things where I was playing around with the voice. And they said, yeah, that'd be, and I came around to me, it's sort of word, yes, of course I have to go now, I do this accent thing. And I go, oh, no. What do you mean? I thought you were, no, we're just, no, you can't. So I had to come up with Warpath, and I can't even remember.
It was like a southern accent, if I remember.
Yeah.
Warpath. Was it kind of like a G.I. Joe sort of thing? It was kind of
like your
kind of a joke, more
like a hard.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, he was a little more like his. Yeah, Warpath. Wasn't he kind of like that, right? A bit of swagger. Yeah, swagger. So I made the changes, but it is, and in Ben 10 Omniverse, you're a bunch of aliens. There's about a dozen aliens you have to come up with, and so that's the thing to being a voice actor. You got to think on the spot. Sometimes they throw it at you. Sometimes you have to come up with a voice. In the new Ben 10 series, there's a couple characters that are, really pushing the damn, and my throat is, screwed by the time the session's done. You keep showing your toes. Yeah, thank you, good question.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you. I love the shirt, look at that, there's Megatron purple. Thank you very much, in honor of.
I'm George from Tennessee, and I was just curious what your thoughts were on the Beast Wars prequel that they came out with in 2006.
The Beast Wars,
it was the prequel where they showed how he stole the golden disc and set up a fence in the shell.
It was something we did? Did we do that?
No, that was done by Fun Pump, but I didn't know if you had any opinions on the story since.
No, I don't think I've seen it, George. No, I don't think so. Sorry about that. I should watch it. I did my homework.
Well, it was a comic, and then some other company did a short animation for it.
Right. Oh, okay.
Sure.
I hate when I can't answer questions. It was a good question too. I apologize.
Okay.
Yes.
I have a few questions. I was wondering, what was your favorite line in animated to do?
Favorite line in animated? That was 2008. Wow. I don't, all of them. Back to the age, you give me something to say in a cartoon, it blows me away. I can't remember. If you can find something online somewhere, I'll say it for you. But I'm being honest, yeah.
How was it working with the crew in animated?
They were great. We're still all very close friends. The animators, we get together once in a while for a new comic book day, which is Wednesdays. There's a comic book store in Burbank called House of Secrets, and you get everybody there, from Josh Whedon to buying their comic books and story ideas. They're all in there for Wednesday. Some of us get together and just grab comics and get some lunch.
Okay, and last question. Can I get a part in being a Transformer?
I know you have to. Do you have an agent?
I have my dad.
Well, that's a start. Yeah, being an agent, and yeah, having an agent represent you is how you get access to the material. But I know it's you know, there's even certain shows I'd love to be in, and unless you get, you know, to submit you or you get called on. You know. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, I got this. This is Ball. It was there. Howdy. You mentioned Sue would have those cat-ear reflexes every once, kind of aha moments when doing voices. And a lot of times in voice acting, I've heard others say it's hard to remember sometimes what tone you got or whatever you kept during the audition. Was there ever an aha moment from her or another voice director that you regretted?
We're doing something in the fact that, oh, I have to do that again.
Or more like you're like, oh, I forgot the tone, how did it sound? Or...
Oh, well, they always have voice reps. So if you do a character from a series, they'll pull up a ref and play it for you. And you go, oh, that's right, that's the character. Yeah, so you're never totally lost. But, you know, for purposes, sometimes a laugh, or sometimes a certain line will get you back into the character. Megatron was always, you know, saying the excellent or yes, and the Commander Ratchet line, because it got me into the character. You know, and the laugh would always, yes, they would play with it. Yes, excellent. You know, as soon as I said that, I'd be, okay, there he is. I mean, Grandpa Max is not like me, he's just an older me. He's more like, you know, Ben, okay, Ben, clean the van, Ben. And it's just elements of, again, who we are. But I have no regrets at all. There's no regrets in cartoons.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I get people of similar height too.
But it's wireless.
Back during Beast Wars, Beast Machines, were there any, I know you said that you like working with kind of a circle of people rather than doing it individually. Was there anyone that you preferred to play off of, or anyone you would have liked to play off of more, either with the characters or just you thought you had good chemistry with them as an actor?
Yeah, it's always, many times I love playing off certain different characters and actors and friends of mine. I always liked working with Townsend Coleman, and Townie and I were in the animated show. We had that, you know, argument scene back and forth. That was so much fun to do that with him in animated. Going back to the Beast Wars cast, it was so much fun working with. You're gonna know this answer. Who do you think I liked working with?
Scott McNeil is like half the cast.
It's true, Scott. But my favorite to work in that show was when we had scenes with Inferno. I don't know if any of you know Jim Burns. Maybe you've met Jimmy Burns. Jim was, I think, was a motorcycle accident years ago. He lost both his legs, right? I think doesn't he have a Jim Burns?
He's in a wheelchair.
Is he in a wheelchair now? Really? I haven't seen him for years. But he had two prosthetics, and he would come in, and it was first thing in the morning. I told this story at the table earlier today. And Jimmy has these off-color jokes that okay, here again, and he has, I gotta do it for you. You know, and oh, here it is. It's 9 o'clock. It's 8:50, and they come, oh my God, Jim. And as soon as he starts those jokes, you know, people start warming up, and the the stuff between him and my queen, that whole scene.
Stop calling me that.
It was so much fun to work with Jimmy. But I did not know he was in Jimmy. Oh, man. Yeah, did I answer you? See, tangents. Sorry. Did I answer the question?
I think so.
I can't even remember now. Where are we? Yes.
Hi there, Ron from Richmond, Geeks Under Influence podcast.
Oh, yes.
Got a two-part question for you. First off, I noticed in Beast Wars, you guys got away with quite a bit of jokes more into the older and adult audience. Especially Scott McNeil. How much of that was intentional and improv, and how did you get that by, like the censors and the checkers?
I don't know. Sometimes this shows you go, wow, they're saying that? That has double meaning. I don't know how that happens, but I think it's just our weird way of going, oh, I see what they're trying to do, and then the writer's like, no. I don't know. I honestly don't know. Yeah, I wish, it's too bad that we couldn't play the outtakes from some of the X-Men Evolution stuff, because that was the whole, we had some reasons. Oh, Storm, yes, can we sit on Daddy's lap, Storm? There was a lot of that going on. But that's just us goofing around and playing. But the writing, I mean, there are shows that have been on, you're like, wow. I don't know.
And I always ask, you don't see it as much anymore. Now it's kind
of, you have to be real,
more sanitized now.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
So I wasn't sure how much of that got improv or how you got to buy, figure it out.
No, so you got to stick to the script.
Fair enough.
If someone sees that, go, no, let's change that. They may change it on the fly.
Fair enough. Yeah. Thank you much.
Okay, thank you. Nice to see you.
Hello, I'm Olivia from Florida.
Hi, Olivia.
When voicing for animated Optimus, who's this new young leader compared to his other iterations, how did you approach that and make decisions for his voice, and how much was prompting from your director versus your own ideas?
They were looking for a Tom Hanks type character at the beginning, and they just couldn't find anyone, and they kept bringing people in, and I told you the story about the audition. So in the beginning, they wanted him to sound naive and younger, so I was trying to make him younger, and I listened to the first few episodes, and I'm like, and I don't think the character really, I kind of fell into it and kind of comfortable with it until probably 4 or 5 episodes in. Then it kind of started, that basically my voice, just a bit of a swagger, a bit of a thing, but he still knew. And it took a while just to establish that you feel comfortable with the character. But it was initially this young, naive bot. And the whole idea that they would tell me to do in a session, every time you talk about Optimus, you're thinking of him in the back of your mind. You're seeing an eye roll from the other characters, like, oh, here he goes again on one of his speeches. That's the sort of was my is the word impetus for the character. Where when I would start talking and do this, all right, we got to band together, and I could see them all going, oh God, here we go again. So you have all this stuff going in your head. That's how the character sort of develops. If that makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah. There's a lot of things going on in your head at the same time as you're acting. So it's like in real life. It's really, you're talking to someone, you got other things you're thinking about, or, like you're thinking, talking to you, I'm thinking, I need to drink a water. Like that's how the characters behave in the show.
Right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We got Evan God. Oh my God.
Sorry, sir. Please don't yell at me again. Hi, I'm Eric from Wisconsin.
Hi, Eric from Wisconsin.
I have 2 questions for you. If I remember correctly, in the Dynasty Warriors video game series, I believe you voiced Jiahao Dun in the Dynasty Warriors 2, and then they moved to a different direction. And this is a series that's kind of kept the same voice actors throughout pretty much all the games in the 9th iteration. I was just wondering if they ever gave you a reason why they went in a different direction since the second one.
I don't even remember doing it. I honestly, gosh, I can't remember.
Okay.
I'm sorry about that.
That's fine. And then my second question, also not Transformers related. What's it like working with Mr. John Oliver on Last Week Tonight?
Oh, yes. Yeah. And now. It's surreal and bizarre. I mean, when they asked me to do, I was supposed to read promos for the show for HBO, And I was hired and paid to do promos in the first end, you know. And I was listening, watching TV one night. HBO was on. I was probably watching Game of Thrones was on, and I said, "Hey, that's not my voice. I mean, it sounds really good, but that's not me." I go, "Oh, wow." I did one of those like snarky texts when I get to my manager. And if he calls, the phone rings. It's him. It's, "Hey, it's Jay. All the managers, all the agents, managers. Hey, what's up? Hey." So then they want to know if you want to do like work for the show, and I go, "What?" He said, "Yeah, I was going to call you Monday, but you know, no, they liked it, but they want to know if you want to work for the show." And I go, "What does that mean? Can you work Saturday or Sunday?" And I'm like, "Ooh." And weekends? He said, "Well, think about it." So I said, "Okay, we'll give it a try and see what it is." And it turns into this, you know, Emmy-winning show where I was there 2 weeks ago, we had 2 Emmys, and it's crazy. It really, and even John himself, I says, "How do you feel?" And he says, "It's absurd. It's all absurd. It's crazy." And he doesn't sort of understand the whole, his accolade. It's very British. But it's quite fun to be involved in a show like that. But it is absurd. It's wild.
So do you have any like good stories about hanging out with the cast at all, or
what with John? With the last week tonight?
Yeah.
The researchers. Those people go deep. When they went to Russia for Edward Snowden, HBO did not know about that at all. True story. So they were leaving that night to Russia. So there was a group within the group. They only need-to-know basis. That's how tight they are, and they go deep. I mean, I was talking to a few of them, and I'm like, "Wow, you guys are..." Stories can happen within 24 hours, and sometimes they'll call me quick and do something, or they could take 6 months to go. But yeah, it's fascinating. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hi.
My name is Matthew.
Hi, Matthew.
First time at this event.
Welcome. Let's welcome Matthew. First time.
I had a question that was actually already asked by a young lady earlier, but kind of an add-on to that. You mentioned before you went in for animated auditioning for Megatron. Now, with Energon, Cybertron, and Armada, your Megatron's been pretty consistent. Did you ever try to mentally try to change it up or make it a different interpretation? Did you try to emulate some other
for the anime series?
For any series, for that matter. Just did they ask you to stick with the specific Megatron that you've worked at, or did you ever try to vary it out? Did you ever try something new?
Yeah, for the animated ones, there's only enough room to fill the lip flaps, like it's already been animated, so you couldn't really do any playing around of like emoting and doing stuff and all this sort of wonderful. So it was basically he just became get the words out, just do this, do that. You had to just get the words in. There was no time for playing, so they needed me to just dial all the flowery stuff back, which I missed doing. Because that's what made it fun.
One last question to build off of that.
Yeah.
If there was anything about the voice of Megatron or even Optimus or any voice that you've done, what would you want to change to make it different from your previous version?
Well, if I could do Beast Wars over again, just the older you get and the more experience you get, the more things you find, the more little nuances. It's all about voice acting. It's all about the nuances. Like what is Mark Hamill? I was in a session with Mark Hamill the other day. And Mark is so fun to watch and listen to. He's in his character, and
he made him very, he was his sort of character, and he took a little breath,
and he took little things like that. And you could see this guy walking. He's so good at that, painting that picture. So if I was to do Megatron again, I even when I'm sitting here talking, doing excellent little voices like this sort of thing, I would even play more with them.
Okay.
I was younger, and you just don't have that experience yet. When you're older, you kind of get, I can pull from this, and I can make it, I can bring it down low, I can go high here, I can do all kinds of different stuff that I really didn't know I could do before. But yeah, always. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Of course. Hi.
Hi, I'm Shay from Charlotte, North Carolina.
Hi.
My question, I kind of have two, but one's quicker than the other. The first one is, it was already asked, like, what was it like going from Megatron to Optimus after having played several iterations of Megatron? But how did the experience of playing the juxtaposition to Optimus Prime help you, I guess, draw on that and draw on what Optimus Prime was like and voice him?
That had to do a lot to do with Corey Burton too. When you're playing off another actor and they're giving you something, it's easy to give back. That's that give and take if you're being in a scene with somebody. You know, we had Lance Henriksen come in. Somebody mentioned Lance earlier today. You know Lance Henriksen? He was in Alien. He was in the animated as a guest. And he came in, and you get the actors of those caliber coming in. I'm like, okay, this is gonna be fun, you know. And he's just gonna talk to this all the time. And he was like, and he was talking, and I was leaning against the back wall of the studio. And every time he talked like that, the wall would rumble. And I go, oh God, keep talking, Lance. You guys have a lot of fun in here. I go, yeah, I love to do this all the time. It'd be fun. You're Lance Henriksen. You can do whatever you want. So to play off his character, to have him in the room, and Weird Al came in one day. You know, and it's funny because in Hollywood or Los Angeles, you get a script and a breakdown. It says, oh, you know, rec car, like Weird Al. And normally you think, oh, they want somebody to do like a Weird Al character, and you walk in, it's Weird Al. That's right, he lives here. I walked around the corner, and this guy sitting there like doing his bobbing his head. I looked at him, and he looked at me in his glasses, and I said, hey, Weird. Do I call you? He said, yeah, Weird Al's good. And so having him in this sort of play off that, it's all about play. You guys did radio plays before, it's all about play. You know, so, yeah.
Okay, and my second question is the quicker one, and if there's any series, Transformers or not, that you would want to do more extensive material with, which one would it be? Star Wars.
I always loved it. Yeah, I was a big fan of Star Wars. I did a couple episodes, Dave Filoni directing. Yeah, I'd love to be on that franchise more.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, David Kaye or Mr. Kaye, as I called you during the autographs. For Transformers Animated, what was it like working with people like Tara Strong, Tom Kenny, Jeff Bennett, and Weird Al?
Oh, it was insane. It was insane. It was Bill Fagerbecky. It was Patrick and SpongeBob. And it was Bill, it was Bumper Robinson. Beside me, Corey Burton, myself, Tom Kenny.
Phil Lamar.
Yeah, Phil would be in once in a while. And then beside Tom would be Tara Strong, Jeff Bennett. Jeff can make you laugh till you cry. He is incredibly fun to work with, and it's just the entire session is just tears and trying to keep it together. Jeff will do something. Yeah, it's amazing. It was an incredible crew.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. How many times? So we're good, right? How long does this go for?
I think we've got another 15 minutes.
Oh, 15 minutes, okay. If you think of any questions at all, just come on up, please. Yes, go ahead.
Hi. So I just have two questions. One, nobody hammered me for this. Did you ever consider voicing characters like Megatron or others in the live-action film? Just out of curiosity.
Well, sure. I auditioned a couple of times. I don't think Michael Bay knows that I exist.
Probably a good thing for your career.
I honestly, I sort of given up. I think that happens, ever it does. But I'd love to. But I've only seen the first one.
Probably the best one. First is the best. Third is close second. Anything else is a hit or miss.
No, I mean, I love movies. My son and I went to see that when at the ArcLight in Hollywood there, and I went to see the Transformers movie, and him and I went. It was in the morning, and it was loud. It was loud. I mean, I like loud things. I'm fine. AC/DC, yeah, right there. But it was loud. It was like, I go, wow. It was like loud. But no, the cool thing for me is an honor for me. I mean, I was in the same room with TF Prime when I did the Insecticon character with Frank and Peter. Yes! And so to me, I worked with Frank Welker on Scooby-Doo and other things. I had not worked with Peter before at that time. I'd seen him all. He's a neighbor of mine somewhere. I see Peter all the time. And as soon as I heard him do that whole transform and ball out, and I went, oh, shit, it's Peter Cullen. Frank did his thing, and I did the thing.
Just Decepticon, this sort of thing, yeah.
And it was just, I thought like literally a space-time continuum was going to like start circling it over. So I look up to those guys, and I think, damn if they don't deserve the spotlight of those films because they're the original, G1 characters that started this whole thing, and they're just great human beings. So John Maggio, a friend of mine, is in one or two of them. I jump at the chance, yeah, but again, I don't know. Michael doesn't know that. He has my phone number, so.
And last question would be, what's your all-time favorite Megatron line? If any.
Oh gosh, you had one I read this morning. I love. Do you have that? Can I read that again? Yeah. This is such a great, long, powerful line. And an amazing artist. This is actually one of my favorites.
Say goodbye to the universe, Maximals. The future has changed, yes. The Autobots lose, evil triumphs, and you no longer exist.
I always like that one. There's many great lines. The Shakespearean debate lines were great. The rubber ducky ones. And the
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Hello, Avery. How you doing?
Good, man.
For everyone else, Avery from Richmond, Virginia. I got two questions. The first one, how did you get into voice acting? And then the second one, how did you like your interplay with Dinobot from Beast Wars?
Oh, the interplay with Dinobot from Scotty?
Yes.
It was really great too. That was probably some of the most favorite exchanges too in Beast Wars with Scott's character. It was great. Dinobot, Scotty was so good at that role, man. So good. And getting into voiceover, well, it was kind of a little white lie, really. I was on the radio at the time, and I met a friend. He was teaching a commercial modeling course, the modeling part. It's one of those schools where I think you had you were in an eye in the middle of your forehead. You go, oh my God, you used to, you make you spend all the money to get pictures taken, and oh, you could be a model. Oh my God. And then the second part of it was the commercial course, which was learning lines and doing commercials for television. And I really like that part. And the guy who was teaching, I said, do you have an agent? I go, no, what's that? He said, well, I'd like to be an agent. You should do this. You're pretty good at this. I go, okay, let's do that. And then he started sending me stuff going on, and then G.I. Joe came around in 1989, and I auditioned for General Hawk, and I had no idea what I was doing at all. And I was skiing one day, and I got a call back for the show, and I was up skiing, and I lost my keys on the hill. And at that time, glow-in-the-dark stuff was a thing. And thank goodness I had a keychain that was glowing yellow, because somebody on that mountain found my keys. And as I was panicking to get over to the callback, it was on a Saturday afternoon at 4 o'clock, and it was getting tight. And if someone didn't find the keys, I would not have made that audition. So their keys were coming down in the gondola, and they said, "Oh, who's told me some keys? It wasn't mine." And I made the audition, and I got the part of General Hawk. That started everything. That's how it started. So it started with
So the guy was your agent.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. You wonder about stuff like that, where well, if I didn't make that audition, then yeah. There you go.
Were you in school at the time? Were you going for acting, or were you taking up something else? Or was that just a general class you were taking?
It was for high school?
No, the course that you took on reading the lines and stuff.
Oh, the commercial course?
Yes.
That was just like something to do.
Okay.
That was just sort of a class. It was I signed up for this class. Yeah.
Wow, divine providence right there.
There you go.
Thanks so much. It's an honor and pleasure.
Thanks, Avery.
Hi, I'm Chris from West Virginia.
Hi there.
I have two questions for you that are very different. First one, you talked about working with voice actor for Inferno. And earlier you mentioned that people kind of bring a part of themselves to their roles. I kind of imagine everyone trying to avoid the end of Office Space working with him. Can you just kind of talk about how the dynamic between Megatron and Inferno kind of developed and what it was like in those sessions?
Well, yeah, it was like Jimmy. I mean, he's just a character. It's Jimmy. It's him doing his. It's an element of who he is. You know, other than that, what I said before is just the. There's a human element to every character you do. I mean, everything, you know.
Yeah, Kevin's not a cartoon.
But if you're going to be that character.
Yeah, there's something about him that's very, very human. You know, you make you cry, you make you laugh. You know, you see something very small.
It's a part of us. So it's just interaction between two beings, right? And Jim is just one of those guys where Jim had this swagger and this edge to him, and I knew in your mind you have this picture of what Megatron is, and he has this picture. So it just became fun to play. It's just I don't know, communicating, being listening and reacting.
Yeah. And the other question I had was, so as Megatron went through his forms in Beast Wars, going from just Barney the dinosaur to shiny dinosaur with roller skates and turbans on his hips, to big red metal mythical dragon.
Yeah.
How did those forms did you try to change the way that you were doing Megatron based on how that would affect him as a character?
Sure, especially the third series where it was a little darker because the humor was gone and he was just more like this being. So, they pitched him down a tiny bit.
But still have that sort of thing. Very much in here. Some very thinking and you will this and you will that. There's no play.
The Shakespearean stuff happened much earlier. Well, this wonderful language, it's a rubber ducky. So you just adjust to where, the voice directors will take you there, but you kind of just deal with the current situation. So he's darker, he's lost his humor. And he just wants to take over the world.
Megalomaniac.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, kids.
We've got about 5 minutes left.
5 minutes.
Go lightning round.
Lightning round, okay.
So, I got two questions.
Yeah.
Question number one. How is it working with Frank and Peter?
It's terribly fun. It's incredible. They're just the best people to work with ever because they're legendary.
Yes.
You know how he does this whole thing about, he just starts up here, goes down here, and goes down here. Come through the voice, and just transform and roll out, this sort of thing. And Frank does everything. Frank can do crickets. We're in Scooby-Doo, and you hear this cricket, and people are looking around and there's a cricket in here. Well, it's Frank. And he's sitting there. It's a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Those guys are legends.
Question number two. What was your favorite voice to play?
Boy, there's been many. There's been a ton. They're all fun to play. I send and gravitate toward the darker characters. Remember Kaye the Huntsman in Ben 10 Omniverse. It's kind of fun to do. He's sort of significant, and he doesn't get too excited about this. I'm just going to get you Mick Tennyson, sort of a smuggy sort of thing here, and I'm after you. And I like kind of playing in that. When you kind of feel it right there. He's kind of fun. Those characters are fun.
And there was a cat I played once in, what was it called?
The animal with the big eyes. With twisted whiskers. Anyways, I was on a Hallmark thing, I think.
And it's kind of funny. He was really like this all the time. And it's kind of fun to play that character.
Yeah, so they're all fun.
I thought your favorite was Megatron from Beast Wars.
Oh, it is. Like I said, it is Megatron from Beast Wars. Yes, of course it is, because it's always been Megatron from Beast Wars. How dare you ask such a question? I was just toying with you. Now, Predacons, terrorize!
Alright, that's all.
Okay, thank you so much.
can do that, I can try yes or no voice again, but then I realized, could you do that hard shell voice where he said divide but do not hesitate to conquer?
Oh yeah. So I had to do this for 2 hours, by the way. Divide. What is it again?
Divide but do not hesitate to conquer.
Divide but do not hesitate to conquer.
Thank you.
Hello, sir. I'm Deckard from Florida.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. I accidentally drew you a picture of Megatron on your birthday one year.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you know what
I didn't know it was your birthday. I just drew a picture of Megatron.
Wow, it's October 14th.
Anyway.
October 14th, I'm a Libra. Any Libras? Yeah.
Alright, so real quick. Did they tell you they were going to be basing human error Optimus on you, or did you just find out in the studio? And if so, how did you react?
Okay, so human error Optimus. Okay, help me out here.
He looks like you.
He looks like. Oh, you mean the human?
Yes.
Yes, the one I have like on my table to sign. That one. Boy. Wow. This morning, I had a message from this guy said, yeah, I just want to know where you are. I go, oh yeah, it's oh right, so my autographs, right? Oh god. My mind. I just said it was pretty cool because I'd never seen me animated before. Oh, wow. I was just sort of blown away by that. I never thought of anything else. The whole episode, because it was a drawing that Derek White gave me. That's me. I'm a cartoon. It was just, yeah, because it sort of made it like, oh yes, that's part of who I am. So it made it, oh, that's when I felt real comfortable with the character because, oh no, that's me. So, yeah.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Hi, my name's Marianne. I'm from Virginia.
Hi, Marianne.
You had said that you enjoyed the ensemble casting and was doing it in a group, and because you get to joke around a lot.
Mm-hmm.
How was it working with Venus? I heard that she can be very straight and.
No, we would try and crack Venus all the time, and we would crack her. She would literally try and be keeping it together, and she'd. You guys, stop it! Stop it! Because she'd stand beside Tarantula Alec Willows.
Oh.
And and he would literally do that.
Oh.
And Venus, every time I look at Venus, when he's doing that, Venus would like. And of course we're all in there. It's a bunch of guys, and Gary's sitting up, pull my finger, and Ian's throwing something, and it's just like it's silly, and she's like the rock. I love making her laugh. Okay. She is so great. I saw her last year in Louisville, or was it last year, 2 years ago? Louisville? Was it in Louisville? He was there. She was so.
BotCon 15.
So what's that?
BotCon 15.
Was it 2 years ago?
Yeah.
40 years ago.
Because I haven't seen her since I moved to Los Angeles. It's been years. It's so great to see her. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. There he is.
Hey, I'm Logan back from North Carolina, and my question is, which Megatron is your favorite to voice?
The Beast Wars, the first one. Yeah, it was fun to play. Fun to play with you. Yeah. The dragon is, a dinosaur. Yeah.
Who's Jack Angel?
Am I supposed to be up there now?
Yeah.
Okay, 2 questions, that's it. What time is it? Oh my god. Oh, it's fine. Oh, I got 5 minutes. 5 to 2, okay.
A lot of voice actors credit out to Mel Blanc as a real inspiration. Who's your biggest inspiration in the voice acting community?
Oh boy. There's a lot. I mean, there's a time, yeah, absolutely Mel Blanc. Rob Paulson is a good friend of mine. Rob, to me, is, I watched Animaniacs, and to work with Paul for the very first time when I was, years ago, was just the thrill of a lifetime. And every time I work with him, I watch him. And he is so giving and so wonderful, and it's the human being in him that I love, and it's the fact that every time we do a session together, he says,
man,
you gotta think, you know, we're getting paid for this. Like, I mean, can you believe this? We're getting paid to have fun. I mean, this is crazy.
And he's still very humble. He understands, and he is an inspiration with his voice, and just is a human being. He's one, and for Don LaFontaine, who was a mentor and a friend of mine for movie trailers, Don, one of the big reasons why I'm doing that side of the business as well. So those two guys. There's a lot of people. Jack Angel, of course, the legendary Jack Angel. I mean, you know, they're very talented. I haven't met Jack until today.
I'm a legend in my own mind.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Of course. I get two and then I'll get out of here.
Hi, Mr. Kaye. My name is Pete Lentz. I am one of the founders of the Audio Nights Theater.
Oh, Pete.
We're an audio company that does a lot of Transformers dubs, and we do a lot of the comic books.
Of course.
About a year ago, you actually did something, were very gracious to us, and lent your voice to one of our things. A video called "A Mind is a Terrible Thing to Waste." You voiced Trepan in the More Than Meets the Eye thing. And you had told us at the time that the only payment that you needed was one of those T-shirts. And we never gave you one of those T-shirts.
The moment?
Well, we found one of the T-shirts, man, and I'd like to give it to you so you can.
Child Small, right?
Your child small. I could tell from your pictures you were really tiny, so I figured we'd get you the little one. But we'd like to present this to you on behalf of all the Audio Nights. Thank you for doing that work for us. That's very much.
And then one more question, is that it? Or you?
I guess.
Yes?
Yes.
Go ahead, yeah.
How is it working for John Oliver? And are you doing narration of local affiliate news networks?
Yes, that's a big part of the business too.
Okay, so I am hearing you from my local news station.
Yeah, where are you?
WHSV. They're
terrible.
Harrisburg,
Virginia.
They are terrible, but you're.
Oh, thank you.
You're the only good guy. You're the only good guy.
Well, thank you very much.
They're terrible.
WHSV.
Yeah.
WHSV Harrisburg.
Yeah.
I'm Wally. What is it?
Oh, I can't remember.
I'm Gary Owens.
Well, thank you all very much.